why would I be anything else when I could be me? No, but seriously, like, I could just do me, Like, I could just live my life as me. Just whole, complete, just myself. Unabridged.
And welcome to episode 7 of Unabridged. I am your host, Don Miller, and I am so excited to be joining you all for this final episode of the year, not season 1. I keep having to clarify for everybody this is not the end of season 1 because what kind of show only has 7 episodes of the first season? Not Unabridged. So we're going to be coming right back at the top of January with the continuation of season 1. Season 1 will end during around the summertime, give the girlie a break, and then we'll be right back for season 2 in September. But you guys don't need to know all that full schedule. You'll just stay tuned to see what happens. I am coming to you today, or this episode is dropping today on the first day of Kwanzaa. When I'm actually recording this, it is before the holidays. I know I'm a holiday high because my ladies always take care of me, so I'm very much excited for Christmas. But it's Tuesday now, so I know Christmas went really good, and now we are on the first day of Kwanzaa, and the first day of Kwanzaa is Umoja, unity, which is actually perfect because this is around the time when we are we should be at least connecting with people who we probably don't get to spend a lot of time with, like family members. So definitely lean into that principle of unity today. I probably am just, again, like I said, basking off of that glow. I usually get a special kind of matriarchy high after I hang out with all my aunties and my mama and, all those people together. So shout out to the first day of Kwanzaa. I don't know if that's what you say, but I'm not going to take too long. I want to get right into the episode because we have a super, super special episode this week. We have 2 amazing guests that I'm going to announce later. You guys are going to see, or if you saw the promo, you already know who it is. But also, I've been talking about this very special, let's get into it, that is going to be very special to me. It's way more personal than any of our other let's get into it. So I don't want to wait or, do too much back and forth. So let's just get right into this week's episode and let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
All right. Yes, let us get right into it. My mom told me the other day that I talk really fast when I get hype on a show. So I'm trying to be really cautious as I move forward because I want people to be able to really hear what I'm saying. But I'm Jamaican, y'all, and I was raised around Jamaican ladies. So I y'all gotta forgive me. And remember, we talked about the lovely advancements in technology that will easily allow you to switch me from a nice 1 time to a 0.5 time. You know what I'm talking about. It's in the corner. All right. I guess I'm procrastinating a little bit. I'm not going to lie because this segment is a little deep for me. I've been talking about it for a little while on the show, kind of teasing a little update that I wanted to share with my life and, just something to close the year out because this year has been a lot for your girl. Actually, the last 7 years have been a lot for me. And what I realized, or what really happened, was over the last couple of months or so, or last month, it really kind of just came to a head. So without making it fancy, your girl had a mental breakdown, straight up snapped. And for a while, I had felt myself a little bit more on edge than I usually was. I was snapping at people a little bit more than I should have, or taking certain situations to heart that probably wasn't as deep as they were. And that was literally just because of the state of my mental health. And I, again, known for a very long time that something was off. I mean, I always tell people after my first big race in 2019 that I really suffered from postpartum. I had a beautiful baby in my campaign, but I looked at it afterwards, and even though we won, I was still so sad because I had lost so much of myself during that time. And I did not know how to rebuild that up again. And I thought that, 2020 was going to come around and I was going to have my nice, amazing new job. Your girl got health benefits. And then the pandemic hit. And the pandemic was hard for the world, right? The pandemic hit us all so hard. It was a time that none of us had ever faced before, unless you were like 90 and had went through another plague. But most of us had never faced anything like that. And in that time of my life, I was in the position of supposed power. And, people were looking to myself, my boss, my team for answers. And I was just, if not even more scared, because we were expected to have those answers. And then the next 4 years after that were no cakewalk. I think a lot of people look at all the wins and, they see how amazing things are on the front face, but don't really understand a lot of things that are going on in the background. And that is no fault of theirs, right? That is, that was my mission, right? To cover, to hide all those things that I had been feeling. And that was really what pushed me too. I really did not want to be or show folks that I had been weak, because so many people depended on me. So many people still depend on me. And because of, all that outside pressure, whether I probably was making it up in my head or whatever pressure it was, whether I was really just putting it on myself, it really just got to the point where it just bubbled up on me and I freaked out and I snapped, y'all. I just was not myself. And it got to the point where I couldn't hide it anymore. I shared with my boss / mentor, my mom, and one of my best friends in the world one day. And it was pretty much a day where it was just buckets of tears and crying and, telling them, honestly, that there were times over the last several years where I thought about not being around anymore, and maybe that was the best solution. And the fact that it got to that point, it was so scary for me. It got very scary for me. And I think it got very scary for them too, because I think to hear me talk like that, it was something that they had never experienced, right? Like I am the goofy one, right? I am, the one who's consistently working, telling people that no, I'm fine with working, telling people that no, it's going to be okay. I just have to make it through, blah. But that was not getting me anywhere. It was just digging me deeper into a hole of sadness, into self-isolation, into like a lack of confidence that is just, it's so crazy when I feel it. And it was time. And when I told them, I didn't know what to expect, right? Like I did not know what to expect. And I love these people. So it wasn't even like I was like, "Oh my god, they're going to be like, I can't believe you." Well, some of them were. My mom was like, "I can't believe you did not tell me." Like she's like the main person that I try to, and sorry mom, I know you're listening, but we're being, unabridged, but she was the main person I never wanted to know, because it was just like I did not want her to be weak for her, right? Like we are each other's whole worlds. She has put everything into me. And I never wanted her to be like, well, dang, like, I did all of that. And this bitch is over here all sad all the time and not happy with her life. Like, well, what did I sacrifice for? And when I tell you my freaking, like, superhero, she, like, wrapped her arms around me. She left work that day and she just spent the whole day with me, and we talked and we cried, and she understood and she didn't judge me, and I think it made us a lot closer, to be honest. And I was kicking myself for not telling her sooner. I'm sorry, y'all, if it sounds horrible. I was really trying not to like make this a whole tear session, but I wanted to be as honest as I could be. My best friend, like I sent her probably the most ratchet voice note I probably ever sent anybody. I don't know what she could have been doing. I don't know what that girl was doing, but I sent her the most ridiculous voice note, and she was just like, she just called me. And I think she just FaceTimed me. And she was like, this did not warrant a voice note back. This warranted a phone call, and I needed to hear your voice, and I needed to, like, for you to hear mine. And, she called me and we talked, and she just, just poured so much into me, right? And this is one of my girlfriends who has probably had a even worse, last, several years than me. And she still wrapped her arms around me, from a distance, but in a way that, I was really trying to avoid with her. And then lastly, when I told my boss, my mentor, like what I was feeling, and he is again somebody else who I tried to hide it from, but he actually has been calling this out for a very long time because of how long we have been working together and how much we spent time together. It was like I noticed this difference. And when I told him, I it was kind of like a about time thing, but it was also a deep caring, like that's really my big bro. And it was like, you don't have to worry about us, you don't have to worry about me, we will be fine, but I need for you to take care of you. And when he said that, it was such a release. And then the actions that followed, which was just so much outward support for for the environment that I need to create for myself. Like he was there for that. And it was helpful because I had to make a very difficult decision. For some of you who may have been tuning into my life or, who are tuning into Philly politics, I was supposed to be stepping into something major next year that I literally could not do any longer. And telling that individual that I can no longer, be supportive in that way that we originally talked about, or, telling that organization that I could not, no longer make that transition. It was so difficult for me because I knew that I was going to get so much pushback and so much, this is an amazing opportunity for you. Why are you not doing this? What about her? It was all those things that was going to be in my mind, but I was at this point where I was like, I cannot go back. I have stepped out of my mental health closet. Like I refuse to go back because at this point I am 30, right? And not to say when you're young, you're supposed to be able to take those beatings, but this is a 30-year-old heart girl. And I remember, and I know this is kind of cheesy, but like I'm an Apple Watch girly all day, every day. Like I wear my Apple Watch faithfully. I'm like, if I climbed up some steps and I had my Apple Watch on, I'm like, damn, that could have counted. So like during the week when I was like leading up to this moment where I snapped, I got this alert on my watch that my resting heart rate had went up 10 beats more than average. And I was like, okay, something has got to give, because I never, and I always say this, and I don't even know how this sounds, but whatever. Like, I never want to be a sick old person, right? Like, I want to be a healthy old person. I feel like we have all these crazy advancements, or the world is about to get wild. I want to have my front row seat to watch it, right? Like, I feel like I deserve that. So, like, and I always say I want to take care of myself. For those of you who know me or watch my stories, whatever, y'all know I'm a real gym girly. Like I work out like 5 times a week. Like that is a hobby. My passion is fitness, because I do that partially because I do love the energy release, but I also just really love taking care of my body. So when I saw that, and it was like my mental was directly affecting my physical health, and the way that no matter how much I worked out, it would have never repaired. Oh no, something had to give. So I'm taking a step back, and I have been taking a step back. Shout out to, my incredible support system. They have been here for me. They have been wrapping their arms around me. Tatsi, Isaiah, my mom, my office team. Dan is a freaking like goat right now. Him and Max and Carmela, they just were like, don't worry, we got you. Go take care of your stuff. We got you till you come back. Shout out to the fact that I never really took many vacation days because I'm cashing those bitches in right now. And really just been taking care of myself. In addition to keeping up with my pod, love this audience, love this platform, whether it's 10 of y'all, whether it's 10,000 of y'all, this has been an incredible space for me. And I can't wait to just continue to build this out in a new year. Taking care of my health, continuing to be a gym girly, and also just leaning into fun, leaning into just enjoying where I am right now. And that was something I had not been doing for the last several years, and really what pushed me to that point. People, and this is definitely like a little bit of a controversial thought, and people are always like, well, I can send you therapists and I can send you mental health supports, and they, that will come. right? But where I'm at right now, I've tried therapy for quite a number of years. And I just feel like I don't got the kind of money for the kind of therapist I need. I'm going to be real. Because my therapy experiences, shout out to those individuals, but it just has never been to a point where I was just like, this is it, right? I feel amazing afterwards. Sometimes I feel so drained afterwards that it just didn't even feel like it was worth it. And I just felt like I didn't have anybody to guide me strongly enough to make it feel like it was worth it. And again, I'm not saying that therapists can't do that. I just think the therapist that I can afford underneath my city health insurance plan for $25 copay is not it. I'm sorry. Like, whatever. So we're going to get to that point. But right now we're doing a lot of self-work, a lot of journaling, reading so many books. Like, it's ridiculous at this point. And also, now that I'm getting my yoga certification, it's an amazing program. And it's really about not just the physical body, but of course the mental health too. So we are definitely on a internal journey, but I'm excited. And ever since I've kind of, just like I said, come out of this mental health closet, I felt a weight off my shoulders. I felt way happier. And, I know it's never like, oh, I made it to the end and now I'm great. I'm not losing my mind anymore. No, I know it's never that. But it is a point where it just doesn't feel like it's so much. And for so long, it has felt like, what the freak? And I just want to get to the point where it's just like, oh, okay. So that is my little mini mental health update. I hope I didn't just like gas y'all up just to be like, oh, that was it, girl. But I really did want to like share this with you all because, as I've said throughout this whole entire first half of the season, I really want this to be a personal journey for me. I want this idea of becoming full and whole and unedited to be something that we go through together. I'm so excited for you guys to hear my next guest because these are two women who, and I'm so sorry, that was gross. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm really here crying. But, these are two women who have had incredible journeys. They have had, not just with the last 4 years that I served with them, but to even get to the point where they're at. And I feel like they share so many really important nuggets for us to really take with us as we close out this year. So on that note, thank you so much for listening to my tearful confessions, but also thank you so much for tuning in to Unabridged this year. Again, this has been a true passion of mine. I love podcasts. So the fact that I am able to deliver my own and have been for almost the last 5 months, I am honored. And I just appreciate this whole audience. So I probably won't come back again and, have a little one-on-one before the episode is over. So I just want to say thank y'all so much. Have an amazing holiday. Have a great New Year's. Sidebar, I know New Year's is my favorite holiday. Yes, it's weird, but I love it. But have a happy New Year's, and I will see you in 2024. Hey, do you want to join the Unabridged journey in the new year? Well, we're always looking for amazing people to come on the show. So if you're interested or want to recommend somebody for me to come and have a little chat with, or just to join the journey, someone who is truly unabridged, living their best life, unedited, or if it's you, girl, hit me up on Instagram, or you can email me, or you can just visit the website. That's UNABRDG podcast.com. Now, let's get back to the show. Unabridged. All right, and welcome to the final episode of the Unabridged journey. I am especially excited for this leg of our journey. I have two incredible guests who are not only some of the most powerful women of color in the city of Philadelphia, the most progressive women in the city of Philadelphia, but some history-making leaders in the city of Philadelphia. So I am so honored to have on the show today Councilmember Jaime Gauthier and Councilmember Kendra Brooks. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Of course. I just appreciate y'all for making the time. Shout out to the staff who listened to my request. I'm looking at them in the back because I know how scheduling for a council person goes. So I just appreciate you guys for making the time today. And hopefully this conversation is, a little bit reflective, but also really helpful to the audience. And that's why I was so pressed about you guys being on. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, let's just get right into it. So the first term just ended, technically. I mean, technically it's not over to the end of the year, but session was last Thursday. So how are we feeling right now? How are we feeling?
I feel like I can't believe that it's gone so fast, so quickly, but I also can't believe that so much has happened. And overall, I feel really proud of what, I've been able to accomplish as a legislator along with my team and what we've been able to accomplish as partners in council and as part of the council body.
That's amazing. How about you, Kendra?
I'm still tired off a campaign, to be honest.
I know. So people know in the audience, Councilmember Brooks's campaign ended a lot later than Councilmember Gauthier's. So, you just finished running maybe a month ago. So how are you really feeling?
Tired, but I think to Councilmember Gauthier's point, like, in reflection, this has been an amazing 4 years. And with all the fatigue I'm feeling now, it's been a crazy but amazing election cycle. Keep in mind, I've been campaigning for over a year because of my role in Working Families Party, as well as being an elected official. I wear multiple hats, multiple titles, locally, statewide, and nationally. So keep in mind, I was working on Brandon Johnson's campaign in Chicago. So I've been nonstop. So when I say I'm tired, it's like a level of exhaustion, but also we've won some really amazing things, including in Chicago.
Right.
And then coming here in Philly, able to get another Working Families Party and elected member in Nicholas O'Rourke.
Right.
Yes.
Shout out to Nick.
And me winning, Jaime maintaining her seat, Isaiah, like the whole freshman, now sophomore team coming in together.
But technically like juniors and seniors somehow?
I know.
I don't know. So
Wait, I wanted to step in with a correction, though,
What?
because I was also running for my seat all year. So I did
right,
have a
yes.
general
You had
election.
a
Oh
vote
my
too.
goodness, I
Yes.
forgot.
Yes, absolutely.
Why do I always forget about him? Oh no, excuse me. No, I forgot. She had an independent that came into the race towards the end. See,
Who also tried to run against me in the primary, right?
listen, and we're going to actually have a little question about that too,
Okay.
because we got to get to that. But again, more about the how, not the why. Yes. But so before we kind of get into this term, I had the pleasure of running with you all the first time you ever got the seat, like take it back to 2019, before anybody had a council member title, and we were just like, I hope they pick us. We were still in that mindset. And I mentioned in the introduction that you guys are both historic. Councilmember Brooks, you mentioned that we talked about an independent seat, but for the listeners, Councilmember Brooks was the first independent seat to win a major city council seat in the country, right? And now we have another independent seat, but then also Councilmember Gauthier, I hate to say took out a dynasty, but she took out a dynasty, y'all. Like, we're talking about 28 years for the woman before her, and then Lucian had about 16 himself. So we're talking about 30-year dynasty, right? So let's take it back to 2019. It might have even been 2018. When people were telling you, why are you doing it? Jaime, Janie ain't going nowhere. Janie is rooted. And, we never had an independent candidate, not like why you did it, because I know probably a million people have asked y'all that over the 4 years. But I want to know, how do you stay centered in that mission when everybody around you is like, that is not a thing. Like, y'all two little ladies, y'all want to get out of here. So how do you really stay centered in your mission and keep going at a time like this when, you're not coming in with a mandate like that you were the second time?
For me, it's like my mission is grounded in why I do this. This is definitely based on my purpose. If I didn't feel like it was a purpose for me being here, I would not. You guys know this. I'd be like, I ain't doing this again. Every time, even last term, I said, not doing it again. But not to get spirit, but I feel like it's a calling right now. And then when it's no longer that, I'll move on to something else. So I'm grounded because I believe in the work that I do. I believe in fighting for my neighbors and in communities that are usually disconnected from government, disconnected from our democracy, disconnected from the whole idea or concept of voting. I mean, voting with a purpose. Not just, I'm going to give you this piece of paper, vote who I tell you to vote, and this is what we do.
Don't worry about it. Just push all deep.
Right. Grounded in political education and politicizing folks to be the change that they want to see. So for me, that's what keeps me grounded. That's why I'm back down easy, because the mandate is greater than the job for me.
I would say for me, I share that feeling that it was a mission or a calling to do good work in the city. I've always directed my career that way. But also, even though people thought I was crazy, I thought I could win, right? And so when I decided to run in 2019, one, I had wanted to run for council for at least a decade. I watched the political victories of Helen Gim, Larry Krasner, Rebecca Reinhardt. I had this sense that people were not just in a place where they were necessarily always going to vote for the incumbent. The political winds were changing. And I thought that in addition to like my personal goal of running for the 3rd District Council seat in particular, that it was a time for change. Also, I've always been someone who took calculated, informed risk, right? I used to work for a national nonprofit. I left there to run a very small nonprofit because I wanted my shot at leadership. I left there to run a bigger nonprofit, and I left that nonprofit to run for council because I saw my path, even though other people might not have. But what I've learned is most people don't take risk. So a lot of people will tell you not to do something that has an element of risk in it. You have to be centered in how you see your own path and your own strategy to get there. And that's what I did. And it was a risk that paid off, right? What I learned when I got out there in the community, even the communities where, it was thought that my opponent had a stronghold, was that people very much want to be asked for their vote. Even if they voted for you in the past, they very much want to have a conversation about their community and the things that they want, and they value that. And that's what I did every single day, and it paid off.
I love that because both of your answers are very much rooted in being like aligned with your, as they say, with your star player. And that's really the whole reason why I even started this show, was because a lot of times they will push us, especially as women of color, to really be outside of ourselves because we're fitting in a mold or some kind of way. But both of you are saying that if I wasn't aligned internally, then I would not be where I am right now. So yeah, shout out to y'all. I love when the guests just be like enforcing the brand. Get into it, unabridged. But no, so we were touched on a little bit about, the overall term. And now that the first term is over, yay, getting into our second term. And I also think that it's special, that it's the two of you all, because I feel like, while my member, I think he's standing on business all day, not 10 times out of 10, I think he does, I think we have a lot of great members, but I think about you two in particular, like you all were never afraid to stand on business, whether it was 11-2, 13-2, 12-2, right? It was always the two, right? And I think, that's a part that I admired so much, because it was just like, you guys were never afraid to kind of stand on that ground, no matter what the entire body may have been saying. And I don't, you can have your whys and your stakeholders and your groups, but my thing is like, what kind of gives you that courage to stand up in that moment? And like, what is a moment in particular where you was like, dang, like this is a hard one, but I gotta stay 10 toes down? And how did you keep your center? So you guys can get as detailed as you like, as not detailed as you like, but it's more, I'm just curious about like, how do you remain in that space when you're getting calls from your colleagues and they're like, girl, this is not the play, but y'all just like, we're going to stay our 13-2. So.
Well, I have 4 amazing daughters that I'm more accountable to them than anybody else. And if I don't stand on principle and how I raised them, like if you believe in something, you can't do what everybody else do. You can't go along to get along. So the minute that I step outside of that, I'm a liar to my children. So for me, I stay grounded in that. I think the hardest one, it's been a lot. When I'm just like, nah. I can honestly, okay, after election, the last no vote was much easier for me with no anxiety. But some before were like hard. I was like, shit. Maybe I should just do it. What's the risk? It's election season. All of these things are part of my calculation. But at the end of the day, I don't want to be perceived as a hypocrite. So that's what I stand on.
Yeah, I think for me, it's also this sense of morality. And I have to I got into this job to make a positive difference, and to help people make a positive difference in their own lives, right? But at the end of the day, if I can't be in this job and act according to my values, then I've just made a decision that I'm not going to be in the job because I don't think that it brings value to the citizens of Philadelphia if I'm just doing things for political reasons, if I'm doing things that in my heart feel immoral or against my values, then I just don't think it's worth it. And so that's, that sense of morality is what has driven me even in instances where it's been hard. And, there have been the votes where we've been the 2 or sometimes the 1 in different instances. But there also have been these very tough fights that I have taken on in my district where I just had to stand on what I'm there for, and that's delivering equity to my constituents, no matter who I'm up against, and no matter how big of an opponent they are. Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm here to do. And I don't want to be here if I cannot be in a job that, is where I'm acting according to my values and what the values are of the people in my district and why they sent me there in the first place.
And I just want to add, I like to sleep at night.
Right.
When I take my vote, 10 toes down, I sleep well.
Right.
When you go against that core value, it eats up at you. I want to live. I don't have time for unnecessary anxiety. After I take
it's
my
just
vote,
I go back home to these neighborhoods. Like I still live in these neighborhoods. People would knock on my door like, excuse me. Right. So no, and I'm really happy that you guys echoed that sentiment because I feel like what people who don't really do politics think is that politicians are liars, right? Like that's just like a thing. Like you get into politics, you're going to lie to people. You're not going to hold true to what you told us on the campaign trail. But to see that you all again stood on business, continue to, and then were able to stick around, become those leaders in the city is really good to hear. And I think it will inspire other young people who may not, be as institutionalized or who have been going to knock on doors with their grandma since they were 1 year old. Like that's how we kind of shake up, this political nature that we have right now is by saying, no, I'm still myself and I still have my seat. We're good over here. I love that. Thank y'all so much. So shifting gears now. What is like y'all self-care? How are we taking care of ourselves? Y'all do a lot. What do y'all self-care? And the fact that y'all made that face,
I feel like I'm still learning and growing in this area. And this is something that my staff really gets on me about as well, especially my chief of staff. This is something, if I'm just being completely frank, that I've struggled with my entire career. I have this desire to make an impact, to be a part of positive change, and oftentimes that's very hard work, and it can be very hard, particularly as a woman. I'm a divorced mother of 2, to balance everything. And it always, always, always feels like one place is not getting enough, whether that's your kids or your job, but most often yourself. So currently for self-care, I do run every day. That's helpful to me. That's helpful for like my mental health, as well as my physical health. But I feel sometimes that I need to have an even more robust self-care routine. And so that's something that I'm learning about and trying to get better at.
I'm about to say, you said you were a runner. Like,
No,
if
she really
anybody
does.
who is a runner, your self-care routine is already at 1,000, all right?
Even on vacation, she gets up and runs. Then she'll come and eat, get dressed, and then take a walk.
Because we've been on vacation together, right? So,
And I'm looking at her like, girl, I'm about to sit on this couch
Right.
and do nothing.
Right, you do it too much. So you're one of those vacation people. Got it, okay. Oh, my goodness.
See you when you get back.
Right, we'll be here. Prosecco, we waiting.
oh my God.
And
I'm
it
going
will.
to drink
Right.
the Prosecco when I come back.
And it was ready.
Oh, my goodness.
And for me, I like to cook too. So I think that's my thing.
Yeah.
So I like, while she was running, I'm up cooking like a whole big breakfast for everyone in the house.
And it's appreciated.
Yes.
And
You gotta
I
have
was
balance
happy
in
doing it.
friendships. You gotta have that balance.
Yes. So
What about you? What's your self-care, Kendra?
I'm still learning. I'd like to find some quiet time to myself, but I need to find that thing. Because at this point, just to be honest, I feel like since I've been in politics, I haven't found that the thing that brings me joy. Like so many things that used to bring me joy, no longer do. I feel like I need a reset. Like just to, like, for example, cooking. This is the simple things that people don't understand. Going to the market is a whole fiasco. The basic thing, like I used to go to Reading Terminal or somewhere, pick out my meat. When I first got elected, no one knew who I was.
Right.
Now I go to the market, it takes 30 minutes to get a loaf of bread.
Right.
So, that part.
People are really like coming up to you guys. And Isaiah actually told me a horror story one time, and this is the reason why I would never run for office. He's just like, yo, barely takes vacations. And they were at Atlantic City one time, and that's like, Philly Bull, Atlantic City, that's there, Cancun. So he was just out, and he's there with the kids and Clissa, and then some bull comes up to him and daps him up thinking he knew him. He goes, yeah, Councilman, this is how we solve that gun violence, right? And I was like, I can't take him. Like, I would have felt so bad in that moment. Like, that guy shouldn't be here. But number two, how dare you? I'm with my family. But like, just that swirl of emotions. And that guy technically is not wrong because that is his political elected official. But at the same time, it's like, that is the perception that we have, is that any moment we're not working, is that we're doing something wrong against the city. And I think that mindset is so heavy for y'all. And that's why I wanted to ask, number one, a self-care question, because we're going to turn number two. So let's get these self-care together, ladies. But two, I'm also curious to figure out how you even balance that, because that situation, going to the market, picking up your kids from school, like that is all taken away from you at a level that a lot of people don't understand. So that's the real sacrifice.
One thing I'm committed to is spending more time with my youngest daughter. I feel like between running for office and like really getting into politics, she has had the least version of me. She has all the things, but not me. So I've been like committed to the small things, like taking her to her dentist appointments. And not, I have adult children too. So I'm not one of the big sisters or one of my staff or somebody. Taking her to the orthodontist appointment, I've been committed to being the one that takes her to the dentist appointment. It seems like something so small, but it's become significant because then we go get something to eat. That's when we have our conversations. It's just her and I, no other siblings with her. And I'm appreciating that. And that's a commitment that I made to her towards the end of my last term into this year. So I will cancel, like, I got to take her. Or she has a dance recital. One thing I never gave up, I don't miss her shows. I don't care what's happening.
Right. It's like, oh, that's nice committee hearings to y'all. My daughter. And my
daughter's going to be on that stage. And when she looks in the audience, she needs to see me.
Right. I love that. And I think, I think that's one thing I see a lot at least with the freshmen for all. Like when it comes down, y'all have young children or younger children in comparison to a lot of your other council members. I mean, Councilmember Johnson has babies too, but a lot of their kids are older and things like that. So I can only imagine like what that balance is like. And, growing up, I couldn't imagine anybody else but my mom taking me to my dentist appointment, but she was a teacher, right? So like those are types of things that you don't have to think about when you're not in this space. So shout out to y'all. I know this interview is going to make me love y'all even more. I cannot. Okay, so this actually is perfect. So we were just talking about motherhood. So how do you feel like this role has affected your motherhood? So we talked about that a little bit, but then also, how has it helped? So we talked about how it's affected a little bit, but how do you think being a mother has helped your role as a council member?
I think it allows me to come into these conversations and these deliberations on policy from a different lens. So, for example, a couple weeks ago, we were deliberating on the ski mask ban. And objectively, I can understand why we would not support people walking around with their entire face covered, right? And that we want to help police be able to have all the tools they need to solve crimes. At the same time, I could not in good conscience vote for something that would make this a tougher city and that would, create a situation where young people who are just like my sons would get unfairly targeted and profiled or perhaps stopped and frisked just because they're a young person following a fashion trend. And in fact, we heard, heartbreaking testimony from young people that day asking us not to vote for this ban. And one of them looked just like my son. He looked just like my son, didn't he, Kendra? His name was Liam. And I looked at this young man.
That was the one who said he was kind of nervous a little bit when he was speaking. Was that gentleman? Because that was the one that made me stop and look, and I was like, "Who was speaking?" Yeah.
I couldn't take that vote because my kids follow fashion trends, right? They may not wear a ski mask, but they definitely wear hoodies in 90-degree weather, right? That's like something that's universal.
Yes, definitely.
And they definitely follow other hip hop trends. And I don't want police targeting them when they're just going about the city being kids. And so for me, I think the way that we reduce crime and gun violence, particularly among young people, is by listening to them, right? And giving them the support that they're asking for, not creating, an environment in the city that is harsher and tougher for them to even exist. So that's, just a concrete example of how being a mother, especially to two, Black sons in the city, impacts my policymaking.
That was major. And we actually talked about the ski mask ban last week in my first segment, Let's Get Into It, where I do a little news breakdown. And that one, granted, I know where my member voted, and I always say Unabridged is completely my platform, and it's all over anything. That vote I knew was hard for a lot of people in that room, especially when you work with or have young men. Right? Like, granted, like if you have a lot of daughters or things like that, like granted, like some girls do wear the ski mask, but they'll take it off. It's not like a thing. And I remember texting and I was like, these are going to affect half of the basketball team, right? Like, this is who this is after, right? And, we had a discussion about it afterwards, and I totally understood why he took the vote he did. But, like, that was my mindset around this one. And that was, like, that one I know was a hard piece, especially for people who have a lot of interaction with young males of color. Like, that across the board. Oh, goodness, that was a hard one. How about you, Councilmember?
I think all of this, like I said, is grounded in my children. One of the most, endearing things my daughter said to me, she said that she was in one of her classes in school, and her professor was talking about third-party electeds and mentioned my name and misquoted me or, it was wrong information. And she corrected him. And at that moment, after class, are you related? Because her last name is Brooks. And she said, yes. And she said at that moment, she realized that there are women around the city, young women, looking for a shero, and she has one of her own. And she never looked at it like that until that moment, because it was out of context. Like, that's my mother. That's not what she did. She did exactly this, this, and this, and that information you have is incorrect.
Right.
And, it grounds me more in why I do this work. Like, motherhood, I want the best for my children. And I want the best for those that are around them. If I don't take a stance on issues, whether it's the ski mask or whatever, to support her friends and folks that are around her. Like, I have someone she's dating, nieces and nephews. I have a daughter. She's my cousin that I raised, who's non-gender conforming. She wears ski masks. Looks like a boy. Like, no one knows that she's a girl unless we say so. And that's who I thought about in the moment. Like, I can't, because I've already seen and have experienced profiling and violence towards her, because she presents masculine. And all of those things drive all the work I do, all the policy. Someone asked me in council recently, like, you're always doing something with trans, gay, LGBTQ. I was like, yeah. They was like, do you have a child? I'm like, yeah, I do. And it informs my work. I remember when she came out, and her parents still never accepted it. But my thing, I said, I want you to be a productive citizen. I don't care about that. And I think that is always my grounding force. I'm like Mama K. I'm everybody's mama. Everybody calls me Mama K. So
it took me a minute to figure out who your daughters were. Right. I was like, who exactly are the children? Because everybody's calling you mom.
So I am a mom, like, in essence. And I think, this work, this purpose that I'm brought to at this moment is all defined in being a mother of many. And what does that look like for the next generation of mothers or parents? And what do they have to look forward to, especially from where I'm from? I was like, I'm from Nicetown, North Philly girl, unapologetic. And for them to have someone they can look up to and say, I can achieve that, is big.
I would just add that in addition to, kind of bringing my children and how I feel about my children into the way that I'm thinking about policy that affects young people and young Black men in particular, I also think it drives, to a certain extent, policy making for women that are like me, right? And so, for instance, we work a lot in the eviction prevention space and increasing justice in housing and justice for renters because at the end of the day, when we're talking about evictions, when we're talking about housing justice and who has an easy time finding affordable housing and who doesn't, we're mostly talking about Black and brown women who are mostly single mothers, right? And so when I come into rooms and they're talking about renters this and renters that and people pull yourself by your bootstraps, they're talking about women who are like me. And I can relate to that. And that's why, it's something that I keep at the core, especially of my housing policy.
Yeah, and I think that everything that you all share, it definitely reflects and beams through all of your work that you do. So like definitely felt, and I always like working with parents. I mean, it makes the schedule a little bit crazier, but I definitely think there's a level of compassion and forethought because it makes you, because you're grounding it in your family and the people that you created. So and it definitely, again, shows through your work. So switching back to council as we close out, I always hate this. My interviews always go by so. I know we're almost at 30 minutes. Listen, exactly. It goes by so quick. It goes by so quick. Listen, we're gonna go a little over. I got some questions I gotta get out. So both of you just secured another term. Yay! Okay, I actually put that in here because I was so excited. And to be candid, it was not easy. It was not easy for either one of you. And I feel like for better or worse, Philly, you're kind of like give the girls a second term. That's how we usually go for mayor, for council members, state reps. Everybody just gets their second shot, except for y'all. You had the shade of, I'm going to say the shade of shade thrown at you from all the institutions that you were supporting at one point. And you were attacked by a gentleman who just came out of nowhere, to be honest, and was not very, he wasn't very secretive about it. So, and I think, and it just wasn't very like, oh, they're good, right? It was very much a fight. It was very much like, and granted, like being an insider like myself, I was always telling people they're going to be fine. Like, I'm like, that, whatever, they're going to be okay. But for everybody else, and, the fights that you guys had, like, it didn't feel that way throughout the whole entire time. So what did that teach you about, number one, yourselves and about politics? I threw the shade already, so it's okay. You don't have to.
Oh, I don't care. That's one thing I've learned in my second term. I'm definitely unapologetic.
Right. I love it.
And you throw shade. I said this through the whole thing. You come for me, I'm coming back.
Right.
And I think one thing I learned, my name and my brand is very important. And I gave it away too freely. That won't happen again. I learned a level of resilience that I didn't know existed. Even a level of refrain, because I'm a little spicy and I had to bite my tongue for like months. When I say I have so much shade to throw at people, I'm like,
let me just not.
They done took me to church, but I think it was worth it. With all the opposition, when you think everybody that could throw their hands up or their money in against me did, and I still won. And like walking on this side of January 2nd, and again, I didn't know anybody before. I definitely don't owe any favors.
Right.
Nothing.
That part.
To no one.
So I'm going to have you back on later because I need to see 6 months in. What have we done? Because I love this. I always thought you were unapologetic, but I'm like, oh, wait, no, you're really about to get into it? All right, let's see what we're getting into. How about you, Councilmember?
For me, I think I learned that I'm strong, that I'm resilient, and that I can stick to my values and still come out on top, and that I should. And it's wild because my race started off like, oh, this is going to be cake, right? I have the Democratic Party endorsement. This guy's like an independent. But then council decided to ban safe injection sites.
Wait, when
Council
that,
decided that
when
was
that
the
came
exact
up,
right moment.
Zeke was like, we were looking at it, we were like, oh my God, this is like, we were fine. But the rest of the girls is like, no, like, how,
They
why
were
would
like,
you do
this is the time.
Right, this is the perfect time to do that. This is the perfect time.
And just as a matter of like policy, I felt like at a time when the opioid crisis is raging, we're losing 3 times the amount of people than we're losing to homicide. We don't have a comprehensive strategy. We are not succeeding at this. We don't have a good handle on it. And before we have a public conversation, we're going to take a whole tool off the table without, and I'm not pushing against the discourse that has happened in Kensington, because I know there's been a longer
Dialogue,
conversation. But in terms of a citywide conversation, that didn't happen. And I firmly did not believe that this sort of zoning overlay is the answer to a public health crisis that we are nowhere near close to solving. And I couldn't bring myself to participate in that activity because I thought it was morally wrong. And it was one of those instances where it was I going to choose politics or was I going to stand on morals? And I chose to stand on morals. But it kind of led to the situation where that became my opponent's only campaign issue, number one. He plastered my district with signs that said a vote for Jaime Gauthier is a vote for safe injection sites, which is not true, right?
Overdose prevention centers. Let's use the right language.
I'm telling you what was on his sign.
I know, but that's not what... We have to change the narrative or they're going to keep turning it into something else.
We have to change the narrative, and that's the way to have a responsible conversation. But what happened to me was that people tried to capitalize on the fear in our community around this issue, right? And so I'm in this situation where an easy election now turns into this moment where I'm in community meetings every single night being asked why I want to open up a safe injection site, which is how they termed it. And you would have thought, if you were in these rooms, you would have thought, well, bye, Jaime, because this girl's about to lose, right? But, we had the conversations, no matter how tough they were. My team was amazing. Another thing I learned was that my team cares about me and is going to be supportive of me, through whatever issue. And, the end result was 87% of the vote to 13% of the vote.
And you better get into that, okay? When I watched those results come in, I never laughed so hard at results in my life. I was like, took a couple good chuckles over that one, because I did not like, and this is just me, given that, I didn't like that moment, right? Because like you can run all you want, but you don't care about no supervised injection sites. This is not a thing for you. If anything, talking about your challenger, your thing is economic growth. That's been your thing 9 times out of 10. We know that about you. And now you pulled us from out of the air, and I did not like that about the race. And I thought, you can say whatever you want about Solomon Jones, but I remember one moment he called up to Word, and he was just like, well, we got to talk about Jaime Gauthier, da-da-da-da-da. And he goes, hold up. Isn't this who I think it is? Aren't you running against her? Let's not have this conversation unless she is here to be able to defend herself. And I was like, okay, I see you, Solomon. I kind of like that. So I saw that, happy that the results were what they were, because, again, like I love when young people run for office, but let's run for the right reasons, right? Let's run because we have a change that we want to see, and not of a moment we can capitalize off of because now we want to see. Because that's not what we're doing out here anymore. So... okay, I know I'm bad with time, but I'm going to close. I have to ask my final question. I ask all of my guests. So the name of the show is called Unabridged, which means to be your full unedited selves. So what does that mean for you, to be whole, unedited, complete? What does that mean?
I don't know. I think for me, you're going to see come January 2nd.
That's a clip right there. That's a clip right there.
I'm just saying.
I love it.
That's where I am now. Unapologetic.
I love that.
What's the initials? FAFO.
What is that?
It's curse words. I don't want
I don't know either. I want to find out.
It's what, fuck around and find out.
Oh, okay.
This is what happens. You got a lot of young daughters, okay? Because I would have never.
I didn't know there was like an abbreviation. for
Right,
that.
I didn't know
because
that either.
They know they can't say that to me. So like
I love that. Listen,
when they're
that's
talking about it, I do the same thing. Oh, yeah.
yo. I've never heard that before. Teaching me something. Teach me some slang. What about you, Jamie? What
I
does
should have
that
let her
mean?
go last. I feel like I don't have a spicy,
I'm all
mic
spice.
drop.
All
Right.
spice. All spice.
Unabridged for me just means, being able to, having the freedom to bring my whole self into this job, right? Being able to be thoughtful about what we're doing, being able to legislate from a moral compass or a sense of values, being able to, bring my past experiences, but also engage deeply with my community around my policymaking, right? And I know that in this, we pick this political sphere where we also have to do the politics. I think that's been one of the hardest pieces for me. But as long as I can do the other stuff, then this is the place where I want to be and where I want to continue to be to make change. So.
That's a good answer.
so
That was a good one.
But
you
hers
said.
was like, whatever, FAF. Like,
Well, we different.
This is the balance here. We
That's why
talked
I
about
like
the
her.
balance
That's
in
why I
our
love her.
friendship.
yes.
No, I love
Sometimes
that.
I just look at her like you say the nice stuff. Because what I'm going to
like-
say is going to be like, she shouldn't have said that.
Good cop, bad cop balance here.
Kathleen will be over there clutching her pearls. Like, no, she didn't say that.
She's texting everybody, exiting. Oh my God, Ebony, what did she just say? Oh my goodness. But no, I'm so mad. I have to make these shows longer because I would love to keep this dialogue going. But I just want to say thank y'all so much. We talked about having sheroes earlier today, and I have been honored to serve in the space of y'all, down the hall of y'all, when we were on the campaign trail out in the community together. So to see the progress, to see the growth, to see you all get another term is amazing. I applaud y'all. I think I see the motherhood, the sisterhood. Like you guys just do it. Like y'all just really do it. And I'm just honored that I get to witness it and honestly get to talk to you all about it. So thank you so much for joining the show today. I love you both so much and just thank y'all for real. Like
Thank you.
this is like
You're awesome.
oh thank
We're
you.
proud of you.
Yes,
We're
thank
very
you.
proud of you.
Thank y'all. I appreciate that. Well, thank y'all so much. This has been the final leg of the Unabridged journey. We will see you guys again in 2024. Thank you. Yay! Oh my goodness, that was so good. Oh wait, I gotta stop recording. Okay. And that has been Unabridged. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast. And also be sure to follow us on Instagram and also check out our website. That's UNABRDG podcast.com. See you next week.